Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, oh why can't I?
Singer Brandi Carlile provides a special gift to the LGBT community in total with this new version of the Judy Garland classic.
And watch from over the rainbow as we bring you these and other stories from the LGBTQ headlines. Biden rallies LGBTQ supporters as he denounces Trump at HRC event. And we learn the quality of his business skills in a decade filled with bankruptcy, losses, no taxes paid, and the $750 tax payment heard around the world.
On Wednesday night, we encourage you to tune in to It's Happening Out as we welcome special guest Eric Eldridge from Seminole Hard Rock and famous Daisy Dead Petals, who will be hosting Queer News tonight's sponsorship of Drive-In Divas. Then on Thursday at 8 p.m., watch the largest collection of live LGBTQ personalities in the world discuss the topics of the week on Gay Town Hall. Well, good evening again, America. It is 7 p.m. Monday, September 28, 2020, and it is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight.
News show, so likely anything can happen. This evening we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBTQ community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and this is my co-anchor, David Hopkins. So let's queer up the news. Tonight we begin with queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in America is diverse, while the LGBTQ community around the world is vast. And we bring you the bullet points of queer news for today, Monday, September 28th, 2020. We begin by querying up Vote 2020 and reporting Biden rallies LGBTQ supporters, denounces Trump at the HRC event. Watch this.
You know, today, you've heard me say this before, but America's at an inflection point. This election is going to determine our future for a very long time. We're facing multiple crises: pandemic, recession, racial injustice, climate change and wildfires, an assault on LGBTQ rights, declining faith in a bright American future. What's the common thread? A president who makes things worse, not better, who brings chaos, not order.
Joe Biden sought to rally LGBTQ supporters at a Human Rights Campaign virtual event on Thursday, renewing his commitment to support the community if he defeats President Trump in the election. Biden said, quote, "We're facing multiple crises, an epidemic, recession, racial injustice, climate change, wildfires, an assault on LGBTQ rights, declining faith in a bright American future. What's the common thread?" he asked. "A president who makes things worse, not better, who brings chaos, not order, who sees violence and only fans the flames," end quote. Addressing the virtual Unite for Equality live event, which was a substitute for the Human Rights Campaign National Dinner, Biden, in remarks that lasted 3 minutes, ticked off numerous ways he said Trump has harmed the LGBTQ people. According to Biden, quote, "For 4 years, Donald Trump has tried to roll back the protections for the LGBTQ community, denying transgender Americans a choice to serve our country, letting adoption agencies and homeless shelters and public services discriminate, turning a blind eye to epidemic violence against transgendered women of color." Folks, the White House should never be the source of opposition or fear or oppression. It should be a source of hope and moral courage and unification. Everyone at Queer News Tonight encourages you to vote on November 3rd.
I almost feel like hiring actors as the president hasn't worked out for us either time this country's tried it. He does everything for entertainment, doesn't care about the repercussions, and we need to vote him out.
Well, the debate is tomorrow night. We hope that Joe Biden does a really good job. We are likely going to be entertained by what Donald Trump does, but at the end of the day, the vast majority of Americans have made up their minds. If you want Joe Biden to be elected, must stick to your guns now for the next 35 days.
Next week, we're up the USA. New York Times. Trump paid $750 in U.S. income taxes in 2016 and 2017. Watch this.
Kind of a different potpourri of questions, but the one that we want to start with is what the president's going to be hearing a lot more about, which is a New York Times bombshell story coming out here within the last hour, suggesting that in the years leading up to his arrival here in the White House, that he was only paying about $750 a year in federal income tax, and potentially much less depending on the year.
It's fake news. It's totally fake news. Made up, fake. We went through the same stories. You could have asked me the same questions 4 years ago. I had to litigate this and talk about it.
President Donald Trump paid just $750 in federal income taxes the year he ran for president and in his first year in the White House, and did not pay any taxes for nearly a decade longer, according to a report Sunday in the New York Times. Trump, who has fiercely guarded his tax filings and is the only president in modern times not to make them public, paid no federal income taxes in 10 of the past 15 years. The details of the tax filings complicate Trump's description of himself as a shrewd and patriotic businessman, revealing instead a series of financial losses and income from abroad that could come into conflict with his responsibilities as president. The president's financial disclosures indicated he earned at least $434.9 million in 2018, but the tax filings reported a $47.4 million loss. The tax filings also illustrate how a reputed billionaire could pay little to nothing in taxes, while someone in the middle class could pay substantially more than him. Roughly half of Americans pay no income taxes, primarily because of how low their incomes are, but IRS figures indicate that the average tax filer paid roughly $12,200 in 2017, about 16 times more than what the president paid.
If the news of the last 24 hours do not defeat Donald Trump, nothing will defeat him. He has proven from 2016 he could walk out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and completely get away with it. That's what we've learned in the last 24 hours. What are the big talking points that we've learned? First, the uber rich are different than everyone else. They've proved it. They are able to justify $450 million in profit and still lose $50 million and only pay $750. Second, we've learned that Donald Trump is not uber rich. He's not a billionaire. He has liabilities that are dramatic that are going to come due in the next 4 years, and he has been lying to us from the start. He hid under the audit claim, but in 2016 and 2017, which has nothing to do with the audit of 9 years ago, he could have told America, oh, by the way, I filed my taxes this year and only am paying $750. He lies. And then the third thing that we find out is we have great national security risk. For all of my Republican friends, how are you going to justify now that we do not have significant risk because the President of the United States can be co-opted by a foreign agent that has bought the debt from the Deutsche Bank and is going to owe $400 million to somebody? But who?
Yeah, who knows? You know, I find it ironic that Abraham Lincoln, well-known Republican, who initiated the payroll tax to begin with, paid about $1,200 in income tax. Abraham Lincoln. Think about it, people.
Next, we queer up the USA. The conservative Supreme Court will now use their opinions to shift law against us. Us is the LGBTQ community. With the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, the LGBTQ community is about to move from an era of expanded rights to an era of expanded restriction of those rights. The judiciary has often been willing to push the boundaries at a time when public support was far less accepting than it is today. It's fair to say that the courts often preceded public opinion in acceptance of the rights of LGBTQ citizens. Legal experts believe with the confirmation of the next justice, which is all but guaranteed now, Christians are the group that the court seeks to protect now, and that will come at the expense of LGBTQ rights. Legal experts observe and suggest that this movement is 3 decades in the making, and it's not about protecting groups from discrimination, it's about making the country more religious.
Next, we queer up the world. 50 ambassadors to Poland asked to dissolve LGBT-free zones. Polish leaders on Monday rejected suggestions that LGBT people are deprived of any of the rights in their country, after an open letter from 50 ambassadors and international representatives cited the need to work for, quote, non-discrimination, tolerance, and mutual acceptance, end quote. The ambassadors' appeal, made in an open letter published Sunday, comes as an increasingly visible LGBT community in Poland has faced a backlash from the right-wing government, many local communities, and the Catholic Church. The letter stated, quote, human rights are universal and everyone, including LGBTI persons, are entitled to their full enjoyment, end quote. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki stated, quote, to the dear ambassadors, I can only say that tolerance belongs to Polish DNA. No one needs to teach us tolerance because we are a nation that has learned such tolerance for centuries, and we have given many testimonies to the history of such tolerance, end quote. The U.S. ambassador to Poland, Georgette Mosbacher, tweeted, human rights are not an ideology, they are universal. 50 ambassadors agree.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. A new anthology, Be Gay, Do Comics, vividly depicts the queer experience. There is a lot to love about the new queer anthology, Be Gay, Do Comics. The collection winningly weaves humorous cartoons with deeply personal short-form comics and historical comic strips to offer an entertaining and informative read. The comic creators spotlighted in Be Gay, Do Comics originally debuted their work online on The Nib, a home for daily political cartoons, comics, journalism, humor, and nonfiction. According to The Nib's associate editor, Matt Lubchansky, the goal with this anthology was to curate a collection of cartoons that proudly featured their, quote, humongous base of really great queer contributors and to highlight them and their amazing work. Be Gay, Do Comics is out now.
Next, we queer up health. Donor sues fertility clinic for allowing same-sex couples to use his sperm. A sperm donor who has insisted same-sex couples should not raise children conceived with his sperm has won a lawsuit against a fertility clinic that used his donations to help queer families. Neil Gaskell, 49, began donating sperm at Care Fertility Clinic. Gaskell had conditions on who he wanted to help. He insisted on his consent form that he didn't want any of his donations to go to same-sex couples or single mothers. Gaskell claims he's not homophobic and said, quote, I accept that some people will find this uncomfortable and that people might think I'm homophobic or against the idea of single mothers, end quote. In September 2016, Gaskell was informed mistakes had been made. Gaskell was so upset that his sperm had been given to same-sex parents that he entered into a 4-year legal battle with the fertility clinic.
Next week, Queer Up the USA and reporting the Time 100 honors LGBTQ icons, including Billy Porter, Chase Strangio, and the BLM founders. Time magazine has released its annual Time 100 list of the most influential people of the year, and it includes a number of LGBTQ people. Among those included in the list are producer and director Greg Berlanti, Taiwanese gay civil rights activist Chi Chia-wee, Black political activist Angela Davis, singer Halsey, actor Billy Porter, U.S. soccer star Megan Rapinoe, ACLU attorney and trans activist Chase Strangio, trans activist Tourmaline, and Patrice Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tormetti, who created Black Lives Matter. Everyone at Queer News Tonight congratulates the iconic Time 100.
Next week, we're up to USA. California will house transgender inmates by gender identity. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law on Saturday requiring California to house transgender inmates in prisons based on their gender identity, but only if the state does not have, quote, management or security concerns. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation houses men and women in separate facilities. Transgender inmates are often housed based on their sex assigned at birth. Advocates say this is dangerous, particularly for transgender women housed in facilities for men. The law Newsom signed Saturday says officers must ask inmates privately during the intake process if they identify as transgender, non-binary, or intersex. Those inmates can then request to be placed in a facility that houses either men or women.
Next, let's Queer Up the USA. A judge orders the Trump administration to turn over concealed documents on the trans military ban. A federal judge has ruled today against the Trump administration in litigation challenging the transgender military ban, ordering the Defense Department to turn over documents it had previously on the policy withheld on the basis they were pre-decisional and deliberative before the restriction went into effect. The U.S. District Judge Marsha Perchman in Washington State, a Clinton appointee, issued an order Friday requiring the Trump administration to hand over documents requested as part of the discovery process for the lawsuit by October 5. If Trump wins the November 3rd election, this ruling is expected to be appealed.
Next week, Queer Up Gay Culture. Swinging Richards reopens, add masks for its dancers. Iconic gay strip club Atlanta's Swinging Richards has reopened, but dancers have on masks. Owner C.B. Jones said, quote, "People on stage naked have a mask on. It makes some people look better." The gay Atlanta strip club closed in March after a customer, bartender, and 2 dancers tested positive for coronavirus. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms ordered all bars, nightclubs, gyms, movie theaters, and other venues to close later that month. Swinging Richards reopened again this month with a limited schedule, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. He reduced customer capacity, and the staff deep cleans the club every night after closing. The club also checks customer temperatures and requires masks except for when seated. Happening Out Television Network will host an epic LGBTQ national debate between the LGBTQ left and the right on Friday, October 16th. Watch this. The debate will be in person and virtual and will include 3 of America's most noted conservative Trump LGBTQ representatives, including the founder of #WalkAway, Brandon Straka. Representing the liberal and anti-Trump LGBTQ community will be representatives including lead voices from Gay Town Hall. The debate will be moderated by Queer News Tonight anchor Al Ferguson. Tickets are equally split via conservative and liberal LGBTQ organizations for socially distanced live participation. Outside protest tickets are also available.
Well, it's an exciting event. October 16th is going to be an epic conversation. Our debate will have 3 representatives from the very conservative side and 3 representatives from the liberal side, and debate the election of a lifetime and what's going on in the LGBTQ community. I'm going to be the moderator, and I hope to do a good job. I think I will be able to. And if you would like, and you're in South Florida or would like to come to South Florida, you can, and you can participate live. It will be a national virtual event also, and it should be quite unique of what's going to happen in the next 35 days in the election.
Yes, I just got my mail-in ballot this weekend, and while I already know who I'm filling out on mine, if you're undecided, this might be an interesting place to get some points. So you should tune in for sure.
Next tonight, let's catch up on all the news surrounding COVID-19 with our quarantine quickies. The first story tonight is our daily reporting of the coronavirus facts, especially important to the LGBTQ community. We report first on coronavirus case numbers based on the standard acceptance of 7% of population of the LGBTQ community. The world's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at 2,342,760, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at a staggering 513,317. We remind you, America, that we are ground zero of this pandemic. The USA is just 4.4% of the world's population, and today, America is 21.9% of all of the cases in the world. Next, we report on coronavirus deaths. The world's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths now stand at 70,323, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at 14,670. The USA is 20.9% of all of the world's deaths. Next up tonight, we in Quarantine Quickies report. Redfield, the CDC director, voices alarm over influence of Trump's new coronavirus task force advisor. Watch this.
Redfield today said that more than 90% of the population remains susceptible to coronavirus. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I think that Dr. Redfield misstated something there. And
so he misstated last time and
I'm going to answer your question if you let me finish. The data on susceptible that he was talking about was his surveillance data that showed that roughly 9% of the country has antibodies. But when you look at the CDC data state by state, much of that data is old.
Dr. Robert Redfield, the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, has grown increasingly concerned that President Donald Trump, pushed by a new member of his coronavirus task force, is sharing incorrect information about the pandemic with the public. Redfield suggested on Friday that Dr. Scott Atlas is arming Trump with misleading data about a range of issues, including questioning the efficacy of masks, whether young people are susceptible to the virus, and the potential benefits of herd immunity. Quote, everything he says is false, the CDC Redfield said during a phone call made in public on a commercial airline and overheard by NBC News. Redfield acknowledged after the flight from Atlanta to Washington that he was speaking about Atlas. Before he joined the task force, Atlas was a frequent guest on Fox News, where he pushed to reopen the country and espoused views that most closely aligned with Trump's opinions during the health crisis.
I don't even know why the schmuck is on the coronavirus task force. His doctorate has nothing to do with infectious disease. That's like Senator Rand Paul, who's trying to act like he's an infectious disease expert because he's an ophthalmologist. Stay in your lane, people, and stop killing people.
Exactly right. Atlas, I think before he came to this job, was like a massage therapist or something. Yeah. You're not a doctor qualified to correct Redmond or Fauci or Burke. It is absolutely unacceptable. It is dangerous for you, LGBTQ community, to listen and follow his instructions without critically evaluating the words coming out of the ridiculous statements of his mouth. And finally, I remind you, tomorrow night, one of the leading HIV doctors in America is going to be at Q News tonight, and we're going to be talking about COVID-19, and consistently he corrects now what Atlas says. So we encourage you to tune in.
Quarantine quickies. United offers COVID-19 testing to travelers flying to Hawaii. United Airlines has announced it will start providing COVID-19 tests to customers, an effort that could make it easier for travelers to meet or even avoid quarantine requirements and entry conditions at top destinations around the world. Initially rolling out as a trial project between San Francisco and Hawaii, customers will have the option to take a rapid test at the airport or a self-collected mail-in test ahead of their trip. The rapid test will be provided by GoHealth Urgent Care and their partner Dignity Health. Offered on the same day as the flight, the test will provide results in approximately 15 minutes. The mail-in test will be provided by Color and must be completed at least 10 days prior to the trip. United reportedly worked closely with the state officials from Hawaii to ensure that travelers to the island and Hawaiian residents returning home can avoid the state's current 2-week quarantine requirement as long as they test negative.
Next up in Quarantine Quickies, we report, sadly, the LGBTQ community is holding its breath now as Florida reopens everything. Florida's LGBTQ community, including the gayest place on planet Earth, South Florida braces for what's next in COVID-19. Friday, Governor Ron DeSantis ended almost all coronavirus restrictions, including allowing full opening of restaurants, bars, gyms, strip clubs, and more. The governor justified the move just 36 days before the election to support the decline of COVID-19 cases since the peaks of May and June. Buyer beware, stay safe, and always wear your mask.
This is such a tough spot for so many bar owners and people in the service industry. They have needed help for months. They can't operate without being open, and the government should be stepping in to protect everyone and is not. I miss the Ramrod, I miss the Eagle, I miss my hangouts, but I'm not going to be dealing with crowds. I'm not comfortable with that, and I've had it, so I don't have to risk it like some people do, but no.
We've reported tonight Atlas's political motivations with the White House in correcting Redmond and what Redmond and Fauci have said about him. We have just reported what Governor DeSantis has done in the state of Florida. Both DeSantis's comments and Atlas's comments are designed for the exact same thing, to win an election 35 days from now. That is not good business or health recommendation, management, or planning. Next, we're going to queer up Pride tonight, and we're going to do a photo essay called The Top 10 Characters Voiced by the LGBTQ Community. Inclusion is important for all of us, and these past few years, we have seen some fantastic breakthroughs in voice acting where LGBTQ community members get to shine very brightly. So therefore, here is our top 10 characters voiced by LGBTQ community. As always, if you disagree, make sure to comment down below. Watch this.
Queer News Tonight presents the top 10 queer voice actors. They are all surprising, but number 1 easily takes the cake. Let's get started. At number 10.
I just wanna be near you.
Please don't come any closer.
At number 9.
In a thundering herd, we feel a lot like cattle.
At number 8.
How aggravating. There's nothing I hate more than when my predictions turn out wrong.
At number 7.
Come with me, Kara.
At number 6.
So I kind of invented this little game where I'm the last living person in the world. Oh, does that help her? Yeah, this keeps out the radiation and the mutant carnivores that prowl the earth at night, and I sleep like a baby.
At number 5.
You won't be able to fight your worst nightmare for long!
At number 4. At number 3.
We're currently looking for the source of the signal. We've narrowed it down to up. Just right up there somewhere.
At number 2.
Make it all great. Lord, if I cannot build a prototype, my dream will be beauty, beauty.
At number 1.
Walking normal. Mommy doesn't get drunk. She just has fun. Crackers, where's crackers? Come to bed with me. Come on.
Excellent. Happening on Television Network is broadcasting tonight on our brand new set in partnership with the Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church, right here in Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors, Florida. We joke this is the gayest place on planet Earth. Our support of their Sunday celebration is the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's completely live. We encourage you to tune in. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Professor at Broward College and host of Gay Town Hall. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Welcome to week 4 of Queer Money Talks, where every Monday we'll take viewer questions about finance and the economy and ask our experienced professional to weigh in so that you can be more confident with your money.
We are proud to have Queer News Tonight's contributor, David Treece, joining us now. And this is live. With 30 years of experience, David works as a fee-based investment advisor representative with Cetera Advisors and is an accredited investment fiduciary. He understands financial markets and is highly skilled in financial planning. David has been featured in the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, PBS's Nightly Business Report, The Washington Post, and on NBC6 in an Emmy award-winning series about his work, and is a member of the LGBTQ community. David, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, there's lots of financial news and tax news in the news. I guess you've heard. Anything particular this week that you want to begin with before we jump in and dive into viewer questions?
Well, I'm excited that we're all wealthier than President Trump. All of his supporters who say that he's such a great businessman, I guess we're all better businessmen than he is, because we don't have negative net worths in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I can't wait in my life to make $450 million and pay no tax on it. It's going to be exciting. All right, well, let's jump right into our questions. And David, let's start with you.
Sure. The first viewer question is it expensive to hire a personal financial advisor? Is the cost worth it for me?
Well, it's always a question of value. I think when you're going to spend money on anything, you want to make sure that it's worth it to you. So hopefully it would be, because you think about how important your money is, your financial future, all the things that could go wrong, and hopefully it would be worth it to you. There are several ways that you can get financial advice and pay for financial advice. Our firm is generally based on assets under management. So if people are giving us money to manage, there's a fee, maybe 1%, 1.5%, and that covers all sorts of trading costs. But then if you don't have assets under management, it could be that you just pay somebody an hourly rate to analyze something, or it could be just a one-time flat fee to do a plan for you. And we do that all the time. I like the idea of having a financial plan, and that gets you on track. So even if you don't have assets under management, we also have a program where you can pay monthly. So then you have access to all of the software, the tools. We'll still do the plan for you. We'll answer questions and give you advice. So there are all sorts of different ways to access financial planning.
David, I want to piggyback on this question, this viewer question, and your answer. I know since we have started this, there is a lot of mystery behind financial planning. We're kind of secretive about our money, etc. We've talked about that before. How does it work for a financial planner, especially in the LGBT community? One of the things that we get to instantly is you understand us, and we understand you, because presumably, I was going to make a joke there, you are in a situation where you can give advice and help demystify it. Is there any cost for the first consultation to find out and figure out what the potential investor should do?
You know, this may vary from planner to planner, but for us, the answer is no. We want to get to know you, and I typically do a 3-meeting fiduciary process. A fiduciary is what we are, which means we have a duty of loyalty to you, utmost care, no conflicts of interest, and to always do what's in your best interest. So that means we really do have to get to know you. And I have a whole system. I even have it on my website, like little videos of each meeting. But the idea is the first meeting is to get to know you, your goals, timeframes, risk tolerance. And then if you've had some investments, even a group retirement plan, we like to get those statements and we analyze them. On a second meeting, I give you feedback, but I still don't want you making decisions, because I just don't want any pressure. I want you to get our feedback, process it, and then based on your feedback to what we're providing you, that analysis, then on a third meeting, we may make some recommendations to actually make some changes. But it's a slow process, but it always works out better.
Yeah, and that's really crystal clear. So really, it's a no commitment situation to step in the process, get educated, learn about your financial advisor, and then your comfortability in terms of what you want to do next. All right, well, good. Let's look at another viewer question that I'm going to ask, and it has to do with the current times in COVID. A viewer asked, COVID-19 has hit in my situation very hard, so I need to use some of my savings. Is there any pitfalls to avoid if you have that kind of emergency situation?
Yes, I've got a lot of comments on this, and this is life. Life happens. This is why we always want you to have an emergency fund. So I think some of the pitfalls to avoid are, we don't want you to get penalties if you have to take money out of an account. And right now, this year, the penalties from taking money out of retirement plans are waived. So if you're below 59.5, you would have been charged a 10% premature distribution penalty. That's waived this year. If you've got a penalty for maybe breaking a CD, that's pretty minor, so I wouldn't worry as much about that. We also want to make sure that you don't get into any kind of a high interest debt situation. So hopefully it is coming from savings and not taking out debt. One comment I want to make is about emergency. I want you to think, whose emergency is it? Is it really your emergency? Because often I find family members want to help out other family members or friends, and sometimes, you know, their emergency really isn't your emergency. You can only do so much. We also want to make sure that if you are dipping into your savings, that you do so only as much as necessary, that you try to minimize that. You look for ways to cut back expenses and maybe ways to make a little extra money. And most important of all, once you're back on your feet, make sure that you replenish that savings account.
I want to make sure that the soundbite that I heard you say, you clarify. In terms of drawing from plans and things that you have in savings, would that include your 401? If you were under 59.5, you could draw this year because of the unique nature of 20 and not have penalty. Is that what you said?
Yes, and that's a great question, because there are two ways to withdraw from the 401k plan. You could do just an actual withdrawal, and if you're under 59.5, the 10% penalty is waived this year. So that is, you do have to pay taxes on it, which is another important point.
Becomes income.
Yes, it counts as income, and so if it's an emergency, you probably don't want to pay the taxes. However, don't forget that they're there. The next year, you're going to have to pay the taxes.
Well, even if somebody needed to do that, you would hook them up with an accountant at Trump Industries or the Trump Corporation, and they would figure out how
to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
How to go to jail.
Exactly right. Let's ask another question, David.
Yeah, another viewer has asked, what are some ways to better stay on top of my budget?
Yeah, this is another great question, and the reason is you have to know where your money is going, and it's just human nature. The money comes in, and then you spend it, and you're thinking more about the end of the month and paying bills as opposed to what you're actually spending money on. So you need to track your spending. You cannot get your budget under control unless you know where the money's going. There are great ways to do that. There are all sorts of apps like Mint, and even your credit card may give you a spending report. And just going through your bank statement, credit cards, any of that, and totaling it up. And I have interesting stories. We need to know this to do our planning. It's like garbage in, garbage out. I had one client who gave me an estimate of what her monthly expenses were. Then when she studied it and really looked at it, it came back double what she was actually spending. So you have to make sure that you know what you're spending, and then you can make decisions like, do I really need this? One great area to look at are subscriptions. Now, everything seems to be going to a subscription-based model. So $10 a month for this, $15 for that,
Doesn't
$50.
sound like much until it starts to add up.
And there are apps that you can actually get. Trim is one of them that will analyze that you may not have 10, 15 subscriptions. Maybe at one time you used that feature or service, and now you can get rid of it. That's a great way to save money.
David, I'm curious, before we move to the big finish, is there a generally accepted recommendation number of percentage of savings to apply to your budgeting process, financial planning, etc.? In the course of a year, in the amount of money that you make, is there a percentage number? Try to be saving this amount that you would invest in whatever way that a financial planner like you would be recommending.
Well, you might say 10% off the top, but it does depend on your situation. That might not be doable. One thing, if you've got a group retirement plan and you have a match, that's free money. We always want you to at least save that much, but the more is better. And I've had people who save up to the max, and that can be thousands. I mean, the 401k plan can be $25,000 a year if you're over 50.
Especially if through your corporate program, if they have match, etc. But generally, in terms of providing the soundbite, if you're making $20,000, your general recommendation in your financial planning is to try to save $2,000. Is that generally accepted?
Yes, I would say if you can do that, that's going to help you a lot. And if you can automate it, that's another great thing, so that it comes out automatically from a paycheck if you've got a group plan, or we set up an individual plan like from a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, but it's out of a checking account. So it's automatically deducted the same day every month, and you don't get the money, you don't spend it, and it will grow for you over time.
David, your advice tonight has been great. I'm curious, and I was curious on the first night that we did it, this is week 4, are there, as far as you're aware, and you have long history in this industry.
I'm old.
I was going to say, I wasn't going to use that word, but you have you're very experienced.
Yes.
Do you
That's
find,
very kind.
do you find a lot of fiduciary experts, wrong word, fiduciary people in the industry in terms of financial advice? Do you find many are LGBT?
No. And it's a great question, and this could be another question for a whole nother episode.
Well, maybe we will do that. But
this industry is, as I've said, old, white, male, conservative, and often not so friendly. And that's being kind. I'm actually biting my tongue there. I look at Trump, for example, that 71%, according to the Financial Services Institute, which is our lobbying group in Washington, D.C., 71% of financial advisors voted for Trump, and only 19% voted for Hillary Clinton. The rest in that survey refused to say, or they voted for a third-party candidate. That this is not at all remotely representative of the population at large. And you think about somebody who would vote as a financial advisor for Donald Trump, who is now, we know, basically a Bernie Madoff charlatan, a tax evader. That doesn't sound like very good judgment to me for a financial advisor to do. So I would say do some homework, and I think it's perfectly fair to ask that question. If you're going to go to a financial advisor, I would be out of the closet and say, now I happen to be a part of the LGBTQ community, and I want to know if you have other LGBTQ clients. And I would even ask, what do you think about President Trump? I actually had an African-American woman come into my office and ask me that question.
Wow.
And I made a little video about it afterwards because I knew it was a test. It wasn't, what do you think he's going to do for the economy? What do you think about the markets? It was a values question. Are you going to be comfortable working with me as a black woman? And I told her the truth, that I have been appalled at the racism and all of the vulgarity. I have a lot of conservative tendencies, and it's just been appalling. I mean, day after day. So don't hesitate to ask those questions directly. It's your money.
It's very, very interesting. Perhaps just in general conversation you might have for people that are listening all over the country in the LGBT community, or in South Florida that have direct touchability for you. You may have just given the absolute best advice over the 4 weeks that we've just done, is stand up for the LGBTQ community. Well, that's it, America. This was week 4 of Queer Money Talks, and we look forward to having you back next week as well. I'll think more about how we'll process that information on LGBT, and you've given us great advice for the LGBTQ community.
Thank you.
The biggest thing to overcome is the first step. I think that's what we're continuing to zero in on. So thank you for your time tonight, David. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you.
We are going to end tonight's broadcast with the big finish. These are short story mentions of LGBTQ news or news with a gay perspective. So here we go. First on Queer News tonight's The Big Finish. Rihanna takes on sexy men's underwear. Gay men get excited, and then the hilarious jokes begin.
Nah, 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 come on, come on, come on, I like it, like it. Rihanna is just like taking over the world. She's started the Fendi Ball. She's got her fashion lines, her music, her acting. She is amazing. I love her.
This is the Twitter string on the announcement of when the underwear line is going to come out. And I suggest watch out, Andrew. And of course, I'm talking about Andrew Christian. It looks like you may take a strong, black, gay man, positive woman to reinvent LGBTQ underwear. And by the way, I hope the X in the titling in Savage Fenty stands for 10. Probably doesn't, but I really, really like that number. Also, what does LGBTQ underwear mean? Well, of course, underwear that looks great, feels great, and can be worn equally by big dick gay men, big dick lesbian women, big dick bisexuals, trans people, and those that identify as queer. In other words, diversity equal underwear, and that comes right out of Rihanna's mouth. Finally, and congratulations, Savage X Fenty. In the big finish, say what? Police confiscate 345,000 recycled condoms in Vietnam. Please define recycled.
Well, since you asked, my father's side's Welsh, as you could probably tell by the last name Hopkins. And the Welsh, centuries ago, learned how to make recyclable condoms out of sheep's intestines. And then a couple centuries later, somebody thought to take them out of the sheep, but that's a different story.
Wait, Magnum, Trojans, wink, wink. What? No way. This story, oh God, please say it ain't so. I can barely stand the back alley of so many gay bars to see those used condoms in the gutter. Say what? Oh God.
I can tell he's not in South Florida.
No way. The big finish. Trump tweet on taxes. I should have asked David Treece about this. Yeah. His tweet said, "Do as I say, not as I do," becomes prophetic as Obama laughs to tears. Look at this tweet.
You know, it was funny the first year or so of him being president when it was constantly, oh, there's a tweet for that. Now it's just sad.
House of Cards President Francis J. Underwood, oh, you know, AKA Donald J. Trump, is literally, well, a house of cards. And today we find out that the apprentice business genius is, well, not a billionaire and is certainly not a business genius. So his tweet attack on President Obama is now humiliating for the entire Rump clan, as Obama paid more taxes in that 1 year of this tweet than all of the taxes that Humpty Dumpty did in 20 years. Hypocrisy, lies, misdirects, and worse. Yeah, we believe you, Donald, because you're in audit, you can't reveal your taxes. Yeah, we believe you, Donald. Yesterday, you said the tax copies that the New York Times reported were stolen. Then you said they were fake. Which is it? Are they stolen and real and therefore true, or they're fake, which is the very definition of the current president of the United States? The big finish. LGBTQ community is gobsmacked at Gwyneth Paltrow's Instagram pic in nothing but her birthday suit to celebrate her 48th birthday.
I'm very surprised she's lived this long with all the fake things she sells on that Goop website and the whole anti-vaxxing thing. But I guess if you look like that, 48 next to the other one next to her, that's going to happen.
Newsflash, I'm a hard G. Get it? In the LGBTQ community. So Gwen is beautiful, but she's not that interesting to me. I like her Instagram image like I like the Mona Lisa in the Louvre. But what is significant is at 48, she fights ageism, which is what the picture is about. I applaud her for that. Now, LGBTQ America, if you want to fight gayism, that's ageism with a capital gay. Look at what amazing photographer, could we see it again? Mike Ruiz is doing. At 55, he is putting his face, body, and spirit out there. Literally, his ass on the line. And by out, I mean LGBTQ out. And it's beautiful. Handsome, yes. But the spirit we see in his images crush stereotypes from Gen Zers and millennials that think sexy is only the young, or when they add a sometimes offensive daddy, only masking discrimination. So much of Ruiz photography today focuses on this same subject. It's brilliant, groundbreaking, and well, sexy. Full stop. So great job, Gwen. And especially Mike Ruiz. The big finish. The LGBT community celebrates the holiday we need right now. Fat Bear Week. Wait, hold on. What?
So I went camping this weekend, which some of you lucky people know. This is not what I expected when I heard Fat Bear Week.
Is that Sawmill where you
Yeah, you can see me down there for my cocktail. It was a great party. The bears were fun. Too much fish on the menu.
This picture is David at Sawmill and Katmai National Park in Alaska. I'll be honest with you, when I read this first headline, I thought LGBT America was having a week to celebrate me. Then I've lost 300 pounds. And then I realized, having been to Katmai National Park, I have watched the charmed life of late September as the Alaskan Kodiak bears literally have salmon jump into their mouth. There was so much food. What a wonderful life to live. 6 months of sleep, continual sex for the summer circuit party scene, and unlimited buffets. Yeah, bears and David Hopkins have such a charmed life.
Al saw my cabin mates this weekend.
True. True. The big finish. Ryan Reynolds drops F-bombs to convince parents to drink his gin while homeschooling. Watch this.
It's back to school time, which this year has a
No sound on this, Steve, for us.
That's why today I'm introducing Aviation American Gin Homeschool Edition. It's just like the classic, delicious aviation gin that you love, but with more ounces. It can help with a variety of subjects. fourth grade geography, whatever the new math is, and revisiting your own long-forgotten middle school traumas.
Middle school is the worst.
So there's a whole backstory to this as well. Last week, if you watched the show, you may have seen the Happy Guy commercial for the coffee. With Hugh Jackman. They have a challenge video where they're setting up they're supposed to do these for each other, and Ryan Reynolds does this big thing for the coffee, and then Hugh Jackman just like knocks over a bottle of gin. It's hilarious. I love these two guys. Follow them on social media.
Ryan Reynolds is literally one of the brightest marketers I have ever seen. You probably hate these comments of The Big Finish from me because I'm also making a joke about his acting. His marketing's even better. He helps market his Wolverine Friends not-for-profit company, coffee brand, for community good. He makes fun of himself by telling Canadians, "You're welcome," when Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool shoots Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern in the head. He makes a joke of the hand that feeds him in Marvel and the scariest corporation on the planet, Disney. Then just simply winks at the joke. So this new joke is epic. To suggest to parents that gin is the only fucking way to get through this world we are living is genius. He is on the inside of the joke of 2020, the joke of Trump, the joke of COVID-19, the joke of illiterate parents trying to homeschool their even more illiterate children. Solution? Ryan Reynolds Gym, and many, many shots. We get the joke and applaud the brand. Seriously, the LGBTQ community loves the joke and feel the exact same way about super sexy Ryan Reynolds.
I've been drinking my way through COVID, and that's today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Remember, if it's important to the LGBTQ community, it's important at Queer News Tonight. But you have to help us. Click subscribe on YouTube and share this news.
We are out of the closet and into the headlines. This is the only source of live LGBTQ news in the world. Your community needs your support.
I lost my train of thought there, thinking about the bears and Katmai and David at Sawmill. You are not alone, America. We will get through this crisis.
I got a few people through crisis this weekend. We're here with you, and this is Queer News Tonight.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Al Ferguson, and on behalf of my bear-loving partner here, David Hopkins, we will see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night, America.
Good night.